It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the Carnegie Mellon's assistant women's basketball coach, Coach Megan Yawman. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Excited and honored to be here.
Can you talk about how you knew that you want to get started in coaching in college women's basketball?
Yeah, I think growing up, just my love for the game and the coaches I had growing up really inspired me. And so I always knew I wanted to be a coach. But then when I stopped playing, when I graduated college, I went to coach high school. And as soon as I coached high school, I missed college. Like, I loved high school and loved the experience. And I think it's a great spot to be a coach. And if I ended up back there, I would be happy. But I really just had an itch for college, and I really missed the level and just, I don't know, the competition and the grind of it. And so I went and pursued a college coach job, and that's how I ended up. And it's definitely right where I want to be, and it feels right and exactly what I should be doing. So far it's been a dream come true, and I'm excited to keep going.
What was that experience like for you going to Ithaca and getting to play collegiate basketball?
My experience at Ithaca was some of the best times of my life. The success that we had as a basketball program during the 5 years that I was there, I caught one of the best eras of Ithaca basketball. Just the teams that were put together, and the competition of our league at the time, and just the reputation our program had held leading up to when I got there. It made for some pretty incredible memories there. I mean, I was fortunate that I went to the NCAA tournament 4 times, and we had an Elite Eight run, and we won our conference championship 3 years in a row at home. So there just was a lot of success, which obviously it's a lot more fun when you're winning. But just the things that I learned and the memories I made and the relationships I created with my teammates and my coaches, I think it gave me a lot, and it was probably one of the best decisions of my life to go play basketball there. And I mean, just how much I grew as a person, as much as a player, has definitely led me to where I am today. So 10 out of 10 experience.
What was that experience like for you getting to play in those tournaments?
It was incredible. I mean, just that was a dream just to do it once. And so to be able to kind of continue the success and the legacy of the program year after year was something that I really hold special to my heart and I took pride in. And I think everyone other my teammates that I was with and played with also felt the same. But playing in the tournament's like a feeling like no other. And we were fortunate that we got to host a couple of times. And so even to be able to play those types of games on our home court with our families and our friends around, just gives you a better sense of how competitive and how high level basketball it is at Division III. You really get to see the best of the best and just compete against really top level competition. So it's just fun basketball and makes you feel really good about the work that you put in to get there, because it's really hard to make the tournament. And so I'm very blessed that I experienced it in the way that I did.
For you as a player, what was it like getting to represent Ithaca and putting on that jersey?
It was the best. It was something that I did not take for granted once, especially I think when COVID hit. And, COVID was my senior season. And so for that to get canceled and taken away, when I was deciding what I was going to do for my 5th year, I said to everybody, I'm not playing anywhere else but Ithaca. And so I think that kind of spoke a lot to the pride I had in the program I played for, and what wearing that jersey meant to me, that, if I was going to play last year, I didn't want to play it for any other team. It's a very reputable program in Division III women's basketball. A lot of credit just to my coach, who's, built that program from the bottom up, and put his life's work into it. And clearly the results have kind of showed what he's done. But yeah, it's an honor, and it's something that I think even after graduating, I take a lot of pride in. Like, I still follow the team's success, and I follow along what's going on with the program and stay engaged with the alumni, who are obviously some of my best friends and everything. So there's just a lot of pride around Ithaca basketball, around Ithaca athletics, the reputation that we have as an athletic program. And it's an experience that I think after graduation I missed a lot. I still miss it sometimes, but it's something I never took for granted, and I felt very honored to wear Ithaca across my chest, just given the players that had come before me and after me, and it just was cool to be a part of that group.
Coming out of college, what was that experience like getting started into your coaching journey?
It was great. So I decided to go move home for a year. I'm originally from Rochester, New York, and so I went home and I looked into some college jobs, but they weren't really available at the time. And so I decided to go coach in my high school. Excuse me, I was just a volunteer assistant, but I had a pretty significant role on the team. Thankfully the head coach, welcomed me with open arms, even though I never played for him because it was a different coach, but I had gotten to know him pretty well. And so I feel like I was able to come in and, make an impact on the girls right away. The cool part about that, and a lot of why I chose to go coach at my high school, was because all the girls that were on varsity at the time were all girls that I had trained when they were like in 8th grade and I was a senior in high school. And so to be able to come back and, have a background with them and know them, but also be able to coach them versus train them and see their growth and see kind of the ones that are pursuing to go play college basketball. And, we had a lot of culture shifts that needed to happen in the year that I coached at high school. And that was something that I had a big part in. And so it was fun. It was a great way for me to remember that I definitely want to be a coach and to kind of get my feet wet a little bit. And then it set me up really well for my next spot. So I'm very thankful for that year, and it helped me a lot. I also was able to coach AAU during that spring. I worked out a bunch of kids. I was, I kind of did some work with the boys basketball team. So I just really took advantage of any coaching opportunities I could that year.
What was that experience like, transitioning from being a high school coach to a college coach?
That one is definitely a little bit of a challenge and different, especially because of the school that I work at. I mean, Carnegie Mellon is a different type of institution, more so than, if I were to go work at Ithaca. It's a completely different college job. And so it was a big transition. I mean, high school sports and college sports are very different. And it was one that I was really grateful to have. I think just the maturity level. I mean, obviously when you're dealing with 22-year-olds versus 17 and 16 and 15, that's different. So just, that fact alone, I think changes it. Their dedication to the sport. I mean, Carnegie Mellon's a pretty high level athletics program, and the conference we compete in is super competitive and some of the best in Division III. And so it was definitely a higher level of basketball. The commitment to the academics is a completely different situation than high school, because just 1 year in college and then also at the institution I work at, academics is the first and top priority always. And so it was definitely a transition. And the other thing about high school is, being a high school coach is like a full-time job. There's no question about that. And it's a very challenging job for anyone that takes over a high school program. However, it can't be your actual full-time job. Like, every high school coach has another job. They're a teacher, they work in a business or something, versus here, it's your job 12 months out of the year. And so it's a little bit of a different makeup that way. That obviously recruiting is a huge aspect that you don't really have in high school. And, the season is longer, all the stuff you do during the day. It's just, there's so much more that goes into it from the coaching side, from the behind the scenes work, I would say. But I'm really grateful that I had my year at high school before I came here. I think it really helped with my transition and just getting me back into the game, and from a different lens, coming right out of it as a player, to be able to switch into a coach before I got to college.
For you, what was that feeling like, stepping onto that court as a coach at Carnegie Mellon?
Great. I felt, like I said at the beginning of this, it was like a dream come true to be in this job. I always wanted to be a coach, and I think I always knew I wanted to be at college. I just needed a little bit of a kick, I think, to get there. But to be coaching in college and be coaching in the UAA, in the conference that we play in my first job out of college, essentially, was like a dream come true. And I just couldn't believe that I had made it there. And I was just so hungry to learn, and I was excited for my players. And, I still miss the game a lot, I still do now, but in terms of, I'd only been out 1 year when I got this college job. And so I could still relate a lot to the girls, which I think helped me kind of make an impact on them in more so of a way than I think I would have if it was later down the road. But it's like I said, it's a dream come true to be working in college athletics, but more specifically this job I have. I feel like I was meant to be here, and that this is the right path for me.
What does a typical game day look like for you as a coach, and what are some of your game day routines and rituals?
Game days are definitely busy. Watch some film, refresh on the scout, and just kind of get your brain into the right team and our game plan and everything. Because especially when we get into conference play, we're prepping for 2 teams throughout the week. And so if you spend too much time on the Sunday game, then you forget about kind of Friday game tactics. And so just watching film on personnel and their team to refresh and make sure that we're ready to go. Making sure I have all my notes and, my clipboard's all set, and just in terms of the things I'm in charge with, making sure that our team's food orders are prepped for after or before the game, depending on when we're feeding them and everything. And then, yeah, just always coming in with a positive attitude, regardless of who we're playing, just getting fired up. Game days are the best. They're so much fun, especially here. We opened up a $105 million athletic facility this year. And so we got to play in this brand new gym this year. And so home games were so much fun and such a blast. And so just not taking it for granted, I guess, would be my biggest thing. Sometimes game days can be stressful and people can get caught up in it. But when you actually get into the moment, it's so much fun to watch our girls do what they do and enjoy it. And so I really enjoy game days once all the work is done.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you started to help to build for the Carnegie Mellon's women's basketball program?
Yeah, of course. That was I think a lot of that I have to credit our head coach that came in this past year, Kathy McConnell-Miller. She's been incredible. I think just the culture really needed a shift just from where it had been previously, and she came in and we executed that. And a lot of that is just, I think, in terms of who we are. I mimicked a lot of kind of what she was looking to do and what she was looking to implement, and I was obviously an extension of her. And so whatever she was looking to do, or I guess impress upon this team, I was here to do it. And so I think just a lot of it is our personalities are both very outgoing and very upbeat and bubbly most of the time. And so I think that just kind of reflected a little bit within our girls. They started to buy in and they started to bring a different environment to practice, and they wanted to be successful. And, they knew they hadn't reached their potential in the last few years and they really wanted to get there. They just needed people to help them do it. And so Coach came in and really just took our program to a place that they just needed one last part of the puzzle to kind of get there, and she came in and did an incredible job with that. And so I think our culture is in a really good spot. I think culture's always and constantly growing, and it's something that we will continue to focus on and nurture. But I think it's in a really good place, and we have the right leaders in place now moving forward to continue after the year we had this past year.
Who are some of the teams in your conference that you compete against?
So in the UAA, we compete against a total of 8 teams, including us. It's Carnegie Mellon, Case Western in Cleveland, New York University in New York City, obviously, Brandeis, which is outside of Boston, the University of Chicago, Washington, and St. Louis. And then we have the University of Emory and the University of Rochester. So we are pretty spread out when it comes to our travel. We cover most of the Midwest, the East Coast, and then we have one team in the South. So it's definitely a very different experience in Division III, because most Division III teams, you bus everywhere, and your league is kind of all within like a 4-hour range. Ours is very different. We fly to all of our games. We're spread out so much farther. So it makes for a pretty fun experience for a Division III kid. But it's definitely unique to our level.
What is that home game atmosphere like when teams like Case Western comes to home versus going away?
Yeah, I think home games are great. In terms of kind of what I was talking about with the building and everything, we really put an emphasis and a focus as an athletic department on kind of creating this culture of home events to come out and support each other. And so we had, our bleachers were filled pretty much for every single game, especially for rivals like Case or other people in our league. But just the athletes and the rest of the staff coming out to support us. We have a Kilty band that comes and performs and is kind of like our pep band during our home games. So that's always a great bonus. It's really great. It's a great atmosphere here. There's a lot of support behind athletics from the entire university and all levels. And so the home games were really such a blast for them, especially because while we were building this facility for the last 3 years, we've kind of been in a rec gym and kind of scattered all over the place just during the transition. And so I think it made this year even more special, just given the experience that they had come from, to be able to have home games in a facility like this.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes? And as a coach, what do you look at?
I think recruiting is different for every school. Like the recruiting I would do at Ithaca is very different than recruiting I would do here. Recruiting at a high academic school, there's a different type of kid that you're recruiting than if you're just looking for basketball talent. There's a lot of kind of filters we have to go through to make sure that academically they're in a place that they could one, fit kind of our admissions requirements, but also be successful here as a student athlete. Like, we don't want to recruit someone just because they're good at basketball, but then academically and just what it takes to be a Carnegie Mellon student, they're not going to succeed in. Like, we want to put our recruits and our players in places that they can be successful and walk out of here with a great experience. And so I think just the high academic piece, like I said, kind of narrows down the playing field a little bit, but having said that, the kids that we get to recruit are incredible. Very, very high level athletes. They come from great AAU programs. They come from great high schools. They're driven. They're talented. They're kids that could go low Division I, but decide they want high academics sometimes. So we get a really high level athlete and a very talented basketball player. But more importantly, the academic piece. I mean, the things that these kids do is just mind-blowing from high school, and then what they do here as a Carnegie Mellon student. Just their academics, their extracurriculars, the things they're involved in, the things they want to go do professionally. It's just like it blows my mind away. Honestly, I don't even feel like I should be in their presence sometimes because they're so impressive. And so just throughout that process, like, obviously we're more of a STEM school. And so, if that's something that somebody's looking for, then obviously we pursue them. But we also have options for everybody here. So we just try to make it work. But the recruitment process, I guess, just as a whole, we hit the road and we go recruiting and watch AAU events, and we look at the kids that have reached out to us. And just because the school says so much for itself about it, it doesn't take a lot to sell Carnegie Mellon. Like, we don't have to do a lot of work to sell the school just because of the reputation of it academically and what you get walking out of here. And so we have a lot of kids that reach out with interest of their own. And so we tend to kind of focus in on the kids that we know want Carnegie Mellon already. And so, it makes it a little bit easier on us in terms of we're not just going to events and just watching games to find kids. Like, we are going to events to watch the specific kids and evaluate based on the interest that we've had. And we've had a lot of success with it. We obviously, like I said, we speak very highly of our players, and we're recruiting the right kids. So,
as a coach, what is it like seeing those freshmen putting on that uniform for the first time versus the seniors putting on that Carnegie Mellon jersey for the last time?
So this is my second year as an assistant here. So I've got to experience that twice, and just seeing the growth for people from freshman to sophomore year, and then the growth from, junior to senior year this year, or the seniors I worked with last year. It's pretty incredible. Just their comfort level, their confidence, kind of how they progress as a player. Our freshman class this year had a lot of success on the court, and off the court. They're great, but on the court we had the Rookie of the Year in our league and the Rookie of the Year in our region, and that wasn't something that we knew that she was really, really talented, but she had to kind of work her way there and find herself and find her confidence. Like, we didn't move her into our starting lineup until about halfway through the season, and so just her kind of getting more comfortable in practice and getting more comfortable and confident that, like, she is, dominating and, like, doing really well in these scenarios, and that we're going to continue to push her. And so that was a little bit of a process, but that's something that you need to go through as a freshman. It's a lot to walk in and, expect to just walk in and play and start and, like, think that you're this great player, and it's just a lot. It's a transition that you go through. But the rest of our freshman class also made a significant impact on us as a basketball team and off the court. I mean, we walk around and they're just constantly, like, talking with people, and everyone knows them, and so they've had a really good year. It's been cool to see them kind of mesh really well together, the three of them. And then our seniors, it was an emotional year for us. Our senior class was pretty incredible. Talk about our culture shift. They put our team on their back, and we went from my first year here, we were 11-14 and 3-11 in conference, and in a 1 year shift we went to 21-6 and 10-4 in conference, and we finished second. And a lot of that had to do with our seniors. Like, the coaches can implement as much as we want, and the coaching change was a huge part of it. But having said that, our seniors were pretty incredible. So watching them, lose in our last game and their senior night, and just kind of all of the last for their whole class was pretty emotional, but just more because we were so proud of them, and we're going to really, really miss them. They definitely made such a impact on this program.
For you as a coach, what is it like seeing your players going on and playing either professional basketball in the WNBA or going into coaching after playing?
Yeah, so we're actually kind of in a scenario right now where our best player this year is thinking about playing overseas. Just a Division III, professional basketball is pretty much mainly in overseas, just because, Division III, you don't see a lot of WNBA players. But having said that, she's currently debating playing overseas, and she has an opportunity, and a lot of high-level Division III players do. And she could go play 100%, but, being a Carnegie Mellon student, they have their jobs offered and secured like a year in advance. And so she has a job lined up. And so she's just trying to debate if, does she delay going? Does she stay? Like, she's trying to figure that out. And so, but it's cool. I mean, it just, again, I think more just like a credit to Division III in this level, that there are some really talented players that end up going to play overseas, and they're playing against Division I kids. And it's just, I think it, like I said, it brings a lot of respect and value to our level at Division III, and more specifically in our league and the type of kid that we have. So it's really cool. And regardless of the decision that she makes, I'm supportive of her and excited for her. And I don't think she's as a wrong decision to make. Like either way, it's a win-win. So
what have been some of the things you've been able to accomplish so far, and what are some of your future plans and goals for the program moving forward?
I think a big accomplishment obviously was this year, just being a part of that first year where we really couldn't find success and our culture wasn't really in the right place. Being in a place to have been a part of that turnaround and, watch that and feel like I had an impact on it, and to watch it and be a part of it and learn from it. It was a really, really cool experience, and one that I think I will speak on for the rest of my coaching career, just being in the behind the scenes and what goes into that and just everything we did. I mean, I knew we were going to have a better year, but I wasn't confident it was going to be as great as it was. So it was really cool to watch and be a part of. So I would say that's probably my biggest accomplishment. During the coach transition from the first coach I worked for to now with Coach Miller, it was a pretty cool experience for me to be an interim head coach for 3 months in my first year as a college assistant. And so, just what I got to learn from my own teachings, that experience, like during those 3 months, it was overwhelming and hectic at times, but I also felt pretty good about what I did and feel like I learned a lot and things I did well and things I would do differently. And so I would say in terms of accomplishments so far, those are the two that stick out to me. In terms of plans for the future, like we want to continue the turnaround of this program. Like we don't want it to just be, because we had a good team this year, like that's why we did so well. Like we want this to continue on and be a team that and a program that is known to be in the NCAA tournament. It's not just a once in a blue moon. And so that's kind of our goal moving forward, to just make this a more reputable basketball school, because it has all the pieces to do it, and including, our team for next year. I think we're going to be in a different identity as a team, but we're still going to be talented and a lot to work with. So I'm just really excited about the future and excited to learn from Coach Miller still. There's just, with her background, there's so much that I can learn from her. And so I'm really looking forward to another year here.
What advice would you give those incoming freshmen entering their first year of college women's basketball?
Advice number one would be to enjoy it. I think college goes by so fast. Whether it's your freshman year or your sophomore or junior year or whatever it is, it goes by in a blink of an eye. And so just enjoying it, and it's a privilege to be a college athlete. There's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot that, kind of goes into the reputation of a college athlete and what it takes to be really good and be very successful. And so I think just not taking any of that for granted. And on the flip side of that, work as hard as you possibly can. I think you don't want to leave your college athletic experience and regret not having done more, or that, if I had just stayed in this weekend and worked harder, or if I had just worked harder over the summer, then I could have played more, or whatever it is. Like college athletics is competitive and it's hard, and sometimes it's cutthroat, sometimes it's not, depends on where you are. But it's just it's something that you really need to give your all, and you gotta love it. And so I think just not being able to say that, I gave it my all and that I have no regrets in terms of the work ethic or anything I put into it. And then I think the third thing would probably be just overall time management. It's a full-time job, regardless of what level you're at. And so just being in a place where you can manage academics and you can manage athletics. If you're a college athlete at Division III, you should be at a school that if basketball wasn't there, would you still enjoy being at the school? So if you got injured, or if, basketball wasn't working out for you anymore, or whatever it is, if you weren't playing, regardless of what the reason is, that you would be okay and it would be a place that you still love and want to be. So I think finding that balance of being a student athlete again. So I think those are probably my three.
What advice would you give those people that have aspirations of playing professional basketball?
I think a lot of that is getting connected early. I think I've learned a lot about that process working under my head coach, because she had a lot of connections in professional basketball, whether it's overseas or the W or whatever it is. But a lot of it is who you know. And so if you do have someone that is connected, or if you don't, reaching out and putting your name out there, and just, whether it's an agent or a professional team or whatever it is, just a coach that has connections, just really networking and getting your name out there and kind of on people's radar ahead of time, I think is probably the biggest piece of advice. And then just, again, being ready to give your all to it. I mean, if college athletics is this hard and this cutthroat, then you got to be gritty and you got to work hard, and then imagine what the next level is. And so I think just being prepped that it's going to take a lot of work, and you got to be ready to give it 110% all the time.
What advice would you give those players transitioning into getting into coaching?
I think if you have any hopes to coach, or you've thought about it at all, or something that you're thinking that you want, I would do it sooner rather than later. I think just the hours and the lifestyle and what goes into being whether it's a college or a high school coach, it can be a lot of times. And so I think what I've told people that I personally know, that if you have any hopes of trying it, like try it now. Like now is the time to figure out if it's something you want to do. Not to say that later in life you can't become a coach, but I think one, because you're close, you're just out of the playing experience, you bring a lot of value. Being so recent out of college athletics. I mean, college athletics is different now than it was 15 years ago. And so like, even if there's just a different level of relating to it. And so I think it connects you better with the players and kind of who you're working with if you start sooner. And then also, like I said, the lifestyle can be hard sometimes. And like, sometimes whether it's an assistant coach or if you're at Division I and you're a video coordinator or even head coaches, I mean, it's a grind of a lifestyle. And so making sure that it's something that you really want and you're dedicated to and you're in a place where you can figure it out, I think is different to do that when you're younger versus when you have 2 kids and you're just trying out coaching. Like there's plenty of coaches that have families and there's plenty of coaches that do it for their entire lives and are great, and like that's what I hope to do. So there's nothing negative about doing that, but I think I have a better sense of what goes into it and what that looks like and how to manage it because I've done it now where my priority is mainly just me right now. Like I'm not in a place where I have a lot of other obligations, and so I'd be able to like kind of better navigate that moving forward. And then I also think just like it's really hard giving up sports. And so if you're someone that wants to coach and wants to stay connected to the game, it's a really helpful transition. Like I was pretty lost about basketball when I first stopped playing. Just it's hard to throw it away. I mean, it's your identity for so long, and it's really like such a big part of who I was, and so much of how I express myself as a person came out in basketball and my relationships and everything. And so I think if I had gone from being in the game so much to like nothing, I would have really struggled versus this has been a way to keep the game in my life and maintain the connections that I had and make more new and more connections in the college basketball world or even at other levels. So I think going forward, if you want to try it, and definitely, trust your gut if it's something that you feel like you want to try right now, because it's one of the best jobs in the world. And so I would encourage people to try it if they have any itch to do it.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you on social media along with the program app?
My social media is just Megs Yaws 34. That's just my personal account. I kind of keep it separate from work. But that's the same for my Twitter. So Twitter's a little bit more work related just because of the nature of Twitter. But I do run our Carnegie Mellon page, and would love some followers if people want to. So our Instagram and our Twitter is CMU Tartans, TARTANS WBB. And I try to keep it pretty up to date in terms of what our players are up to, where we're going recruiting, what's going on with our program, things that are happening. And so, yeah, I would love some followers on either page.
Thank you again, Coach Megan Yawman, for your interview, and best of luck in your future at Carnegie Mellon as the assistant women's basketball coach.
Thank you, Brandon. This was great. I really appreciate you inviting me, and I enjoyed chatting with you today.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brand, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Megan, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.